So it's a week leading up to the Tyson Fury money grab in Saudi Arabia. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to On Me Ed's Son. I hope you're all well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So Tyson Fury faces off against Francis Ngannou this coming weekend in Saudi Arabia. That's October 28th for the... Well, no, it's not a world title fight, is it? It's nothing's on the line. It's just a money grab, and fair play to them. Tyson Fury is getting reported, what, $30 million, pounds, shekels, and, well, Francis Ngannou is getting a princely sum of $10 million, or so it's reported. Now, does Francis Ngannou have any realistic chance in a boxing match? Well, no, not really. But it really depends, of course, how far Tyson Fury is willing to take this. Is he going to play with him a little bit, or is he going to get sloppy and get caught by Francis Ngannou, who actually can punch, let's face it? So, you know, it'd be an intriguing fight, but the undercard on the fight is also pretty good as well. Watch out for Ward against Adelaide as well. That's going to be a cracking fight and a bit of friction between those two fighters as well. Now, the night before is an intriguing fight, and I believe it's the first time in a women's bout that they've gone to 12 rounds as well, and this is Serrano against Ramos as well, and this will be for the undisputed featherweight championship as well, and that's a cracking card there as well, and that's all lined up by Jake Paul, his promotion team MVP. They're fighting in Orlando, Florida. Now, Jake Paul is also fighting on December 15th as well. His opponent yet to be determined, but it could be some Mickey Mouse opponent. We have no idea at this stage. So also last weekend we had Jack Catterall against Linares. That was a decent fight as well. Nice little undercard, some cracking fights there up in Liverpool. But it's now teased off Catterall against Josh Taylor. Many are asking, why is Catterall going after Josh Taylor again for the rematch, to get his revenge, let's say, instead of actually trying to line himself up for a world title fight. But actually, really, this is where the money is, and let's face it, he wants to get his revenge. He wants to put the wrongs right, and yeah, there's going to be a lot more interest in that rematch, whether going for a world title fight at this stage. Now, the fight after Josh Taylor, if he gets through that, yes, definitely go for the world title fight there, of course. But we've got some great fights coming up in the next couple of months as well. We've got Joe Cordina going up against Vasquez on November the 4th, I believe. We've got another Misfits card, Misfits 11, coming in on November 17th. We've got Cameron versus Taylor 2, the second fight, the rematch as it were. That's coming in on the 25th of November, so that'll be a cracking fight as well. Now, on the 3rd of December, we've also got Ryan Garcia against Duarte. That's going to be a cracking fight, especially the rebound fight for Garcia after getting beaten by Tank Davis in his last outing as well. Then on the 10th of December, we've got Devin Haney against Prograis as well. That's going to be another cracking fight. They just had the press conferences this week. Yeah, no love lost there either. And then on the 16th of December, we've got the Jake Paul fight as well, but we don't know who is fighting as yet. Now, the reason why I talk about these cards, because actually there's quite a few other cards, of course, coming up, not only on DAZN, for example, but also on the other promotional channels as well. But actually, there's some news coming out apparently with Anthony Joshua and who he might be fighting, and he might be getting a fight before Christmas. Tyson Fury is facing off against Ngannou as well, but also they keep on talking about Usyk before Christmas as well. Now, whether that's likely to happen or not, we know the Usyk fight is going to happen for the undisputed heavyweight title. Whether that happened before Christmas or whether we're really talking about the new year, who knows? But it'll be interesting to find out. But say, it looks as if there's going to be a lot more fights coming up before Christmas. And we want to see the big fights. All the whole boxing world, the whole boxing community, fan base just wants to see great fights. That's what we want to see, don't we? So who's going to win? Who knows? I mean, that's the beauty of having great matchup fights. That's what we want to see. Now, having great matchup fights, this is what the MMA world does really well, especially with the UFC. They do really well, put on great cards, and they're always putting on bangers for each other as well. The last outing, the 294, we had Volkanovski losing. We had Usman losing as well. Islam Makhachev just showed what an awesome talent he is, beating off Volkanovski in the first round, basically, with a head kick, and then followed up by some groundwork and some head punches. The referee had to step in. That was so telling on that fight. And Kamaru Usman lost on points to Khamzat Chimaev, but many people think, well, actually it was a lot closer than the points verdict. So that'd be interesting going forward. But two great fighters there on the losing side, but also on the winning side as well. But UFC always produces some great fights, especially the headline fights, but also the undercard as well. Some great bouts there. Personally, I prefer the stand-up fighting rather than the groundwork and the grappling and that kind of thing, the wrestling. But overall, MMA, but especially UFC, is definitely gaining ground in the boxing world as well. And a lot of eyes are being diverted there. So now, with the advent of YouTube boxing and the amount of attention that's getting, especially with the UFC as well, coming on strong, there's lots of people within the boxing world who are kind of thinking, well, hey, what are we going to do here? We need to up this up a little bit. We need to put on better fights, more 50-50 fights, as a lot of people keep on talking, but also some big names as well. We need to raise a profile not only of the event, but also of the fighters themselves. So it's not only just about boxing talent, but it's also about a recognizable name as well. And perhaps that's always been the case as well. But there certainly seems to be a lot more focus, especially in the last month or so, with a lot of promoters, a lot of boxers, a lot of commentators talking about this very thing as well. What can boxing do to learn from the likes of YouTube boxing, but also from UFC as well? I think they can learn a lot, but ultimately it's the fighters themselves that have to make a name for themselves. And the problem is that when you're focusing on fighting, you're not necessarily going to be focusing on speaking to a camera, let's say, or putting out your social media posts. It's a fine line between focusing on one thing or being in front of a camera and being a personality, let's say. So there's only a few fighters, a few boxers in history that have been able to do both. But it is a big ask for fighters, whether in the UFC or whether in boxing, to become household personalities or YouTube online personalities and walk both paths. So it's an interesting dilemma for not only the fighters, but also the promoters in going forward. But there's always going to be a home for boxing. There's always going to be a home for quality professional boxing as well. But they have to make the whole events a lot more entertaining and the undercards a lot more entertaining as well, and try and generate a lot more interest and a lot more personal interest and a lot more excitement about the backstories between the fighters and maybe the grudge matches between them as well. And they've already, of course, started to change the way they lead up to fights, so with the interviews, with the face-offs and that kind of thing. So there's a lot more attention now on the UFC fighters, of course, the MMA fighters and also the boxers, and the way they're leading up to the fighters, right? It's become a lot more high profile. Let's just see whether that attracts more people to the sport, more of an audience, but more of an audience who are willing to pay to watch boxing, and whether the model changes in the future as well. It's yet to be seen. But some interesting fights coming up, definitely some great headline fights and some interesting undercards as well. That's coming. But looking forward to this coming weekend. Yeah, we've got the Serrano Ramos fight on Friday, then the undercard for Tyson Fury against Francis Ngannou. But I think the great fight to watch that would be the Wardley against Adelaide fight on the undercard. That is going to be one hell of a bout. Bit of a grudge match there. So there we go. You've had the UFC. We've got 295 coming soon. We've got Misfits coming in November 17th. We've got Jake Paul coming on in December 15th, 16th to fight again. And we've got all these other boxing cards to look forward to. And let's face it, we've also got a bit of football to look forward to as well, as the Premier League started last weekend again after the international break. We've got European football again starting tonight. Another hard slog of games into Christmas, when we're really going to have a good idea who's going to be winning or losing come towards the tail end of the season. But anyway, let us know your thoughts about any sport that you're interested in, and let us know about the football, the boxing, MMA world. Let us know in the comments below, and I'll catch you again in another video coming very soon. But there we go. This weekend, Tyson Fury against Francis Ngannou. Who's going to win? Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is definitely going to win, he says. Catch you again. Bye now.